Twins at Law.
Matthew Fletcher.
Hi, I'm Michael Fletcher.
What are we going to talk about today, Mr. Fletcher?
Well, we're back on Twins at Law.
Good to be back.
A lot of news going on. Most importantly, I guess this week is DeShaun Watson.
Right, that's way more important.
Yeah.
Than abortion rights being overturned or gay marriage and all that stuff.
It's NFL, though. NFL's concerned about who's the gay dude.
What the NFL stands for?
What?
Not for long.
Who's the gay dude who came out, man? And he was great, man. He was amazing. And the NFL's done nothing with him.
Well, because he got cut.
No, he didn't.
Sure he did.
Oh, he did? No shit. See, that's fucked up, man.
Concern for gay athletes is true.
No, I just thought this dude.
Touching.
I thought the dude was. I thought the dude
there was a whole one you had to remember. One.
Well, but if I'd have just, but you're missing the point. The fact of the matter is, this dude came out. It was a courageous event. It was something that should go down in history, and the NFL said nothing about it, and apparently they fired him. So, which leads directly into this premise of the NFL is full of shit.
Right.
And so they announced yesterday that the NFL is asking that DeShaun Watson be suspended indefinitely. Indefinitely, in part because he settled 23 or 20 of the 24 cases against him. We did a whole episode on that they're beating him up because he's standing against settlement. He settles it. NFL announced that it looks like, or at least the Players Association announced, they're asking that DeShaun Watson be suspended indefinitely.
Let's go back and fill everybody in. DeShaun Watson, phenomenal quarterback, young man, 24, 25 years old, very handsome, highest paid contract.
Some say he looks like Michael Fletcher.
I've often thought that myself. He has the highest guaranteed contract in the history of football, and he's been accused by 24 people who are exclusively massage therapists and or strippers of inappropriate sexual conduct.
What's the Bobbert one? Bobbert unlicensed escort.
Unlicensed escort. And for that, they've the NFL essentially sat him down for all of last year. He did get paid. But what's remarkable about this, and our position has always been, is the hypocrisy of these NFL owners who are exclusively white. There are no minority owners except for the owner in Florida, Mr. Khan, I believe.
No, that's Carolina. Is it? He's the worst owner, too. He's like, I don't even know what football is.
Fair enough, but he also owns a soccer team, so he keep himself
same
occupied.
thing.
And essentially, what we've talked about, what's fascinating about this is this double standard that's being applied to a black man. And they would do it if it was a brown man, but as you know, there's hardly any Hispanics in the NFL. I think there's one, possibly.
So you think it's racial more than I do? I think it's
it's putting him in his place.
What is critically important is this. These are all civil allegations, all made by unregistered strippers or prostitutes or whatever that they just are.
And what that means is they're not criminal. They took this case to the grand jury not once but twice. And the joke is always still relevant. A grand jury would indict a ham sandwich. And two separate grand juries said there is no crime here. There's no crime we can charge after they looked at the entirety of the evidence. And understand, at grand juries, you don't have a defense counsel. You don't get to put on a defense. Right. The prosecution put on all the evidence they had, and the grand jurors all found that this is not a crime.
This is where race does matter. They're like, do we convict him anyway?
Can we sit on the jail? When are we going to lynch him?
We'll get another. We got 4 more coming. All right, cool.
And so literally after this wonderful news comes down,
like, damn, we let him go.
Not a predator. The NFL has launched this campaign to just dirty this cat up, and they're using terms like predator. He's a super predator because they say he made arrangements with 40 escorts.
They say it was 60, and they say the fact that 24 have come forward, and I keep pointing out I'm not a mathematician, but so these other 40, you're guilty for doing that. But when it's said and done, it comes down to this: there is no allegation that he, for example, pushed a stewardess back into a bathroom and sexually assaulted her.
Or
right?
Ben Roethlisberger's rapes.
Well, that's 10 years ago. Right. But Daniel Snyder. Our issue is this.
Let's do the math on this. So he called 60 people. Out of that group of 60 odd, some 24 people filed civil lawsuits. All those civil lawsuits have been settled. I want to point out to you, it's a year and a half. So over the course of a year and a half, a 24-year-old young man had sex or wanted to have sex or asked for sex 40 times, 60 times.
I don't think that's the issue, though.
Wow. I know
you want to talk about it, but
I don't think a young man trying to have sex every third day is warranted to call him a sexual predator.
Yeah, that's the issue. It's not the fact that he called. When it's all said and done, what it is this. This man is entitled to work. He's entitled to do his job. And the NFL has said these are outrageous charges and we've got to do something because it's about the integrity and it's about protecting women and all these things. And, of course, there's not one criminal charge against him. Now fast forward to, but we learned this week that Daniel Snyder, the owner of the Washington Commanders, literally sexually assaulted a stewardess on a plane in 2009, paid her $1.6 million. And then when it's being investigated, created a shadow investigation where they're literally, the Washington Commanders, under the direction of Dan Snyder, are intimidating witnesses, collecting dirt on witnesses, doing everything they can to interfere with the investigation. And Daniel Snyder is not suspended. He's not suffered any penalty. And we're sitting here, and this is the problem. It's back to your ceiling thing. If we are going to allow regular people, because I think this is a regular people thing, if we're going to allow the media and the powerful people to characterize things as criminal that are not, we're fucked. We're fucked. And so what the NFL does is they do nothing to Daniel Snyder, who literally tried to rape a woman on an airplane, pays $1.6 million, not suspended in any way, shape, or form. And yet, but you know what we're going to do to DeShaun Watson? We're going to suspend him indefinitely because we care about the integrity of the league.
And there's a couple things about that are very significant that people got to understand. And again, and here we're going to break down fairly complicated shit and make it uncomplicated. If you want to know how credible the accusation was, you look at the amount of money that was paid.
He didn't admit liability.
$1.6 million payment tells you their lawyers, the best lawyers money can buy, doesn't necessarily mean they're good, but in this case, they probably were pretty good because they kept them from getting indicted. They wrote a check for $1.6 million to this woman who was attacked on the plane.
In 2009.
2009.
That's a big check.
That's a big check. It's a big check today, but it was certainly,
it's a huge check.
It's a nice payday today or 20 years ago.
I've done, what people don't understand is sexual harassment and race claims, they're never paid very much, particularly unless you go to trial, in which case the judge is knocking them down. But
unless you have the goods. As the young people say, bring the receipts.
Well, that's not true. If you look at the guy from Tesla, he had the goods, and the judge took him from $25 million to $2 million.
Oh, no. It's from 100 and some million down to 15 million.
Well, whatever. I mean,
actually, the facts of that case are not that bad. I've seen far more egregious.
Well,
and I guarantee, back to the subject of the NFL, if you embarrass the shield, then you have to pay. And that goes for players. It doesn't go for coaches, is one of the things we're talking about. When we're talking about we're fucked, what starts up here at the ceiling is similar to being top of the mountain. It rolls downhill to us. So people, regular men and women, but it's particularly egregious to black, brown, and poor people because you don't have the ability to fight back. And with Daniel Snyder, and remember, let's go back to Mr. Kraft, the owner of
Yelsa.
The owner of the New England Patriots. Literally, the man goes into a massage parlor that's suspected of trafficking.
There's no one suggested Kraft has treated women who work for him. I mean, this dude sexually assaulted a woman. There's a difference.
When you are paying young people to have sex, you haven't entered into an employee relationship.
You can't apply that standard to Kraft and not to DeShaun Watson.
I can, because DeShaun Watson is accused of doing exactly what Mr. Kraft did.
Right.
Bob Kraft did. Bob Kraft went in and paid to have sex, got blowjob twice. It's on videotape. Went back the next day, had another thing. He did it twice.
Happy hour special.
Went and got there 10 minutes early so he get the happy hour price. I mean, the guy's only worth several $billion, but you got to save a buck here or there.
But Kraft has to be viewed at the same level as DeShaun Watson. And that's a huge difference between what Snyder did.
But
Snyder assaulted a woman on a plane who's at work. At least in the context of Kraft and DeShaun Watson, there's at least some element of consent. What Snyder did, there is no element of consent.
There's no confusing the two. What Snyder did is a crime. What Kraft did and Watson did is a negotiation. It's the beautiful, like I said, it's a negotiation. If you're going to talk about sex workers have a right to be paid and be treated fairly. No one said Mr. Kraft was a horrible person. Getting happy hour blowjob.
He's a shitty tipper, though.
If you went for happy hour, I have a happy hour blowjob. He went back.
But and again, I think.
And then when he was pulled over and the police pull him over, he hands him a card saying, "I'm the owner of the Patriots."
That's what it should do.
No, it's nothing to care about except in the hypocrisy. When you literally are talking about taking away.
Hey, I'm a rich dude. Here's my card for the cop for getting a ticket. Police do a lot. The issue in this case is the NFL and how they treat DeShaun Watson and players versus how they treat owners. And there is this gigantic double standard. Right. And it's a standard that should piss people off. It should shock you. If we're worried about regular people, if a regular dude who works for, Tesla, for example, and says something wrong, if he gets slaughtered because Elon Musk discriminated against African Americans, that's the problem. And what's happening with the NFL is this utter fucking hypocrisy. Daniel Snyder, literally the same week, they're talking about suspending DeShaun Watson indefinitely. The New York Times does a whole piece talking about that he set up a shadow investigation, interfered. One of the reasons they're coming after DeShaun Watson is they said he didn't tell them about victim number 24. And but you knew that Snyder.
But this comes as a shock to you that they're completely different standards for the rich people.
No, it's not a shock, but that's my point. One of the reasons I love this podcast is we're going to say it. We're going to say it. Listen, don't get confused by the NFL acting like they give a shit about Deshaun Watson's victims. They don't give a shit.
You mean like when Snyder had his PR people or the cameramen put together pictures, videos of all the cheerleader tryouts and all that?
Yeah, I mean but that's a good day for him. I mean, that's nothing.
I didn't rape anybody.
Yeah,
How'd you do today, baby? I didn't rape nobody.
Good boy. Yeah. Attaboy. It's this thing. And it's this double fucking standard, and it's what's scary. And again, it's the utter hypocrisy of it, and we are allowing it to happen. People are talking about Deshaun Watson.
How are we allowing it to happen?
The public's allowing it to happen. NFL's allowing, players are allowing, and society.
Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, screwed up the other day when he was talking to Congress. He told the truth. And he says, I can't fire Snyder, and I can't make him sell the team. Goodell serves at the permission of the owners. The owners hire him, the owners and get paid incredibly well.
Right.
And they literally, he does what they tell him to do. They're not gonna bang Snyder. Do you think these owners want to have people going through their records and see what they've done and how much they paid?
Well, and they don't. But again, the issue isn't whether or not the NFL is going to. The issue for me is, are we going to say something about it, and are we going to talk to people and say, listen, guys, this shit matters. You think that Deshaun Watson's just some rich guy getting beat up. What Deshaun Watson is a regular dude getting railroaded. And if you allow regular people to get railroaded, and if it happens to the super, super rich, that means you're screwed. That means we're screwed.
Well, the relevance of this to me has always been the same thing. And I do believe the fix is generally in against black people, brown people, and poor people. And this is a perfect example because they're saying, oh, don't look at me. It was him. They're literally, Daniel Snyder and the NFL are blaming. They say it's Deshaun Watson. This guy did this. Literally, they refer to him as a predator.
He is a scapegoat, and he's being made the scapegoat. And that's important for him individually. But for me, more broadly, the reason this country allows regular people who can't make a fucking living to act as if they're being, wrongly accused when people are saying, hey, I can't pay my rent, is because we have these double standards. We have these standards where, you could treat Deshaun Watson this way, but the people who are really violating the law, you could treat them differently. One standard for rich, powerful people, another standard for regular people. And Deshaun Watson is, as compared to the owners, is a regular person. And it's that lack of due process. It's that double standard that applies that's fucking us, dude. Dude, you understand the average rent in fucking California is like $3,400 a month for a 3-bedroom house.
But the greatest thing about it is most of these houses are being bought by these real estate trust companies or hugely funded things that are taken out because there's money in renting out houses for $3,400.
There's money in extortion.
But back to the point, this really screws the average person because it sets a standard. It sets an acceptable standard that says the owner, the boss, the master, the Mr. Crafts of the world can do whatever the fuck they want, but the working person can't.
But that's why this is important.
It becomes normalized, people get on talk show radios and go, DeShaun, he was a monster. He's a beast. There's 24 cases. If you don't look at the facts, which we'll do, you look at the facts of these allegations. And one allegation against Deshaun Watson, he's accused of asking a woman for a blowjob.
Begging.
A Tuesday night in many households, probably. But you literally are saying, and that is now criminal to some extent. It's criminal enough that the people in charge tried to lynch this cat. But they took it to the grand jury, not once, but twice. And there's never been an allegation that he forced anyone to do anything. And one of the allegations they took to the grand jury was he begged a stripper, a masseuse who flew in to Houston. He begged her for a blowjob. Yeah, but that's criminal in the sense that it was sufficient for these people to take it to a grand jury.
But when the criminal part ended, they've continued it. And so what they've now done, what the NFL has done, what Dan Snyder has done, what the owner of the Stephen Ross of the Miami Dolphins has done, is they're now taking non-criminal behavior and they're using people other than themselves as an example. They're saying, look, we're the paragons of virtue. We're standing up. And the reality is that premise, that precedent of we suspended Deshaun Watson for a year, that premise it's fool's gold. And it's gigantically misleading because people think it's standing up for something when you have owners who are sexually assaulting women on a goddamn airplane. I'm listening to people on ESPN and everyone's like, oh, Deshaun Watson this, Deshaun. What about Daniel Snyder? He sexually assaulted someone on the fucking plane. And they know about it. They have the payment. They have her statement. They won't even release the statement. And the public, people are like, well, we've got to do. No, what we have to do something. It's not Deshaun Watson.
It's never been about Deshaun Watson. And that's the thing that
that's true. But they're making it about him.
No, but let's remember what the NFL does. The NFL, as recently as this year, finally agreed to stop doing things on race norming. When they literally would say, now we accept that there was a whole lot of really, really talented people who played football for us and was subjected to horrible brain damage over and over and over and over. We knew it was dangerous. We didn't do anything to protect them, so we're going to get our asses sued. So we'll set up all this money, and then we'll pay it out to the players. And then they said, hey, by the way, we got to pay black people less because they were dumber when they started. Roger Goodell said that was okay. Dan Snyder said that was okay. Mr. Kraft said that was okay. So what you're talking about is
so did DeMaurice Smith.
And DeMaurice Smith, the African-American head of the union.
He wants a divorce, too.
Well, he should get a divorce.
He's a piece of shit.
Literally, when someone walks in and says, we can't pay these black people the same because they're dumber to start with, so they ended up dumber because they started, they had a head start.
But here's what's so fucked up about that. And it's the black members of Congress. Not one of these motherfuckers have said, excuse me, but let me finish. NFL they literally have federal legislation that lets them get together, lets them come up with plans, lets them conspire to keep wages down. And not one black senator, not one, this is my deal with the Democrats and Roe v. Wade. Not one fucking Democrat has said, get your ass up here. You are paying black people less because they're dumber to start. No one says a word. Well, no one says a word. By the way, and back to this Daniel Snyder shit, no one says a word about the blatant discrimination that they're being sued for, but we're coming after DeShaun Watson, and not a word. You're not coming after race norming?
The greatest thing about race norming is this. No one said anything. It's accepted. That's what I said. They establish a standard, then it rolls downhill. So brainwashing works. So in the NFL, every single person, regardless of ethnicity, religion, any fucking thing else, said, that sounds about right to me. That sounds about right to me.
That seems about right.
Started off dumber, and they are dumber. We should pay them less.
Dude, what we should do this. We should try to come up with this. We should count the number of people who approve that, and not one of them be held fucking accountable. It's stunning.
Well, starting with Roger Goodell, who sits in front of Congress and says, I'm outraged at Daniel Snyder's conduct.
Roger Goodell just went along with what he went along with. It's DeMaurice Smith.
Let me wrap it up for us. Roger Goodell is Clarence Thomas. They do.
No, DeMaurice Smith is Clarence Thomas.
Roger Goodell is the one who can. Roger Goodell can do any fucking thing.
He's getting divorced too?
He is.
Well, Clarence Thomas, well, DeMaurice Smith is the person. This is where you got their white guys even under the table. You telling me there's not a white dude who has a child of color, multicultural club member? There's not one white person that said, that's fucked up.
But again, this starts with the facts.
Right, and every person that looked at this said, works for me.
And a huge multi-billion-dollar industry came up with a plan in 2015, not 1815, that said black people's brains are worse than white people's. Black people are dumber, so we have to normalize the payments we have to get them. And not one motherfucker, black, white, brown, yellow, red, gay, or straight, or one woman said, that's wrong.
That is fucked up. By the way, though, can you imagine? I mean, this is what's happened to black people. Is you got people sitting in the fucking room who someone said that to, and they're like, "All right, see, it makes sense to me."
You know, it always.
I'd have punched him in the fucking mouth.
It always goes back to the thing. It's like you can think whatever you.
But no one said a word. No one said.
What did the coach of the Jets say? You can text anything you want to. Just don't press send. These people literally walked in the room and said, "You know what?
I think this makes sense."
I agree with you. That's our show for me.